Gjatë, and welcome to Inside Albania with me, Alice Taylor. 2024 has been quite a year, and while we're all still in holiday mode, enjoying the overeating, the overdrinking, and inevitable fighting with family members, I thought I'd take you on a little tour through some of my favourite moments of 2024. In the last year, I've interviewed the Prime Minister, former Prime Ministers, former Presidents, MPs, both locally and internationally. I've interviewed members of royal families, sports people, business people, civil society activists, victims of communist terror, and everyone in between. I've also taken you out of the studio on grand adventures around Albania, where you've got to see through my eyes what I love about this country. So, Haide Memoir one last time for 2024, and let's see what I loved about this year. So 2024 was a year that I interviewed political figures and high-ranking officials from every side of the political spectrum. Some were planned in the studio, some were out on location, and some just happened because I bumped into them in random places in random countries. These interviews sparked memes, they sparked headlines, and they stirred significant debate.
This new growth plan has a virtue to be conditioned, and to be conditioned by many things that are different from one country and the other. They have to deliver. Mm-hmm. There is no free lunch with the European Union. There is free lunch in Albania, but there is no free lunch in EU. So you have to fulfill conditions, and one condition that is impossible to separate from the whole path of the new growth plan is to deliver in every step when it comes to neighborly relations. Mm-hmm. Not just politically, but first and foremost in terms of the free movements. So you can't ask to get more from Europe and more space in the European single market if you are not able to behave like a European state here and to open your borders for everyone. So this is what Kosovo and Serbia should and have to do. Otherwise, they'll not get what is theirs in the new growth plan.
And you told me that you had never been involved in any corruption at all during your career. Do you stand by that today without jeopardizing yourself?
Now, thank you for putting that question. Now more than ever. Mm-hmm. Because as you have seen, the 32 years vetting of Sali Berisha done in the most scrupulous way from this mercenary of political prosecutor office. Mm-hmm. 32 years long. What did they found? They found the smallest wrongdoing. Mm-hmm. So is the vetting of, and it gave the definitive response to everyone which accused Sali Berisha.
My last question for you, Ilia Meta. I'm not quite sure what he's up to at the moment. Do you think he's playing a game? Do you think he's potentially going to position himself as a kingmaker ahead of the elections? Do you think we could see him go to the other side, to go with the PS again? What's your view on this, or would you prefer not to speculate?
I prefer, this is the last question.
It is.
I prefer to cite a very famous quote from a movie everyone knows. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
That's all that needed to be said.
I think that Montenegro is the perfect country to revive the enlargement process of EU. I think that is both interests, not interests only of European Union, only of Montenegro, but also interests of European Union. After the situation with the aggression of Russia Federation to Ukraine, I think that Europe needs to show more solidarity, and more solidarity we can show with concrete support of Western Balkan countries to join the EU. The Montenegro is more ready than other countries, and I hope that we will come to the final stage. But also we wish all support, and we wish all success also to our neighbors, because it not will be full Europe without all countries of Western Balkan joining the EU.
But does that include Kosovo? Because recently Montenegro obviously voted against Kosovo's membership to the Council of Europe. It said that it's not really in favour of that. What's your view on that?
This is the question for the new majority. This is the question for the new government. During my mandate, we have the full support of Kosovo and every another member. So what can we do? This is some new reality.
But it wasn't just domestic politicians that I interviewed. In April, I visited the Council of Europe in Strasbourg to see Kosovo win the second of two votes that would decide its path towards joining the Human Rights Organization. While I was there, I interviewed a wonderful Ukrainian MP. I also went across the pond. I interviewed Ivi Kokolari, a very interesting and quite polarizing figure in Albanian politics. I interviewed the EU ambassador, as well as other politicians and even royalty from around Europe.
Kosovo has a decision of United Nations that they have the right for sovereignty. And in Ukraine we have a clear occupation from Russia. It's not about any self-determination, it's just a clear aggression and occupation. In other countries, they don't have this problem of some parts of their territory where people have any decision of the United Nations. In general, what we're speaking about, I mean, from 2 million of people who live in Kosovo, Serbians are less than 100,000. What do we want? To take these people and to make them part of Serbia again? I mean, it's impossible. That will never happen. And it's clear. And by this non-recognition, we are making worse for Serbia. Yesterday, I also addressed to Serbs, and I said, you need to go through this finally. You need to finish this story about great Serbia, empire, Balkan Empire, and so on. You need to be a wonderful democratic state, how you could be. Move through this. Like Germany was, that was a disaster for the whole world when it was empire. Now it's a wonderful, fantastic country, democratic, great, because they stopped to be empire, and they win from this more than any other country in the world. So the same about Serbs. All these is now like phantom pains, you know, and that should be stopped. And Balkans should live freely. And also, when we have these gray zones, sooner or later there will be war there. And we have forces in the world which wants this war. Moscow, Iran, and others, they will be happy to see new fire in the Balkans. They want to have as much fire in the world as possible. So we need to prevent this and not to play games with this.
In 2023, I was thinking about starting something in Albania and maybe get involved a little bit more. And I made it known at the time. And I had conversations with Richard Grinnell, and I saw a certain, he was trying to distance himself, not from me, but from going publicly for a support for me. Meanwhile, he is the person that, in between me and him, we both represented conservatism. We both represented, in a way, MAGA, which is the Trump movement, basically. And for him to take a step back, that was very weird at the time. And he kept telling me that, yeah, keep me posted, keep me posted, keep me posted. And then all of a sudden, I realized that he was having deals like this as an island, which is absolutely outrageous.
He's not to be trusted. He's not a nice person. What are your, when you come to the end of your mandate, what's your sort of checklist, your personal checklist for having achieved or reformed or been a part of your goals, etc.?
Well, I hope that by the end of my mandate, we will have made substantive progress in the negotiations. I hope that we will have further consolidated the justice reform and maybe addressed also issues like systemic issues relating to corruption, because the justice reform helped on the punitive side, but we need also to look at the systemic causes and address those. And this is really a whole of government approach. I hope that I will have helped the Albanian government overcome sometimes short-termism in their choices and really look at the medium to long term, what is good for their country. I'm also referring to protection of natural areas,
Yes.
Sustainable development, sustainable tourism. I hope we will have contributed also to improving the transport system. You were talking about how long it takes to go from A to Z.
I want the train to be
I
ready.
want the trains too, yes. I think it would change dramatically how you experience this country. And finally, I hope that we will have started a conversation on a more inclusive, diverse society in Albania. One where you can also talk about the rights of certain communities without being frowned upon.
Yes.
And I think this is part of Albania's journey towards the EU.
If France and Germany, arch enemies for centuries, did not have the great power of two major politicians, Charles de Gaulle and Konrad Adenauer, who stood above the graves of two world wars and gave them, shaked hands and said, we want to start a new life, living together, be friends, get to know each other, be friends. And if this process cannot start, you will never have peace in the region. So this should be first on topic, but of course as well, political cooperation. Serbia must accept that Kosovo is a single nation, is an own country. And from this point on, we can discuss on further integration in the European Union.
What is the most important aspect of the European Union? For me, it is very important to see that it is not necessarily the economic dimension, because everybody puts the economic dimension first, but for me, it's the security dimension, which actually has to come first. Because if we don't have stability and security in the framework of the European Union, the best economy does not really help. So we have to put this onto the forefront and say the more we integrate that part of Europe that is not yet part of the European Union, the safer, the more stable all of Europe will become, and the stronger is the voice with which we can actually speak. So I think this question of enlargement is of an enormous importance to us.
Kosovo has a lot of friends in Brussels, and not only in Brussels. I would say in Europe, not because I'm from Germany. Of course, there's a big diaspora in Hamburg, in Stuttgart, and many other cities. And so Kosovo as such, I would say, is a very lovable, very reputational country. It's well known, and there's a lot of exchange, a lot of business activities going on. And people who work more in a political arena have, I would say in general, even a bigger tolerance with many things. So yes, I guess that after so many attempts to say, okay, there's another compromise, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this, it seems that the pool of political actors in Brussels is getting smaller. And I see that there is a kind of tiredness or I wouldn't say frustration, but a lot of shaking the shoulders, pulling up the shoulders, and saying, "Well, I don't know what to do." Yes, it's his right to take the decision as he does that, but we speak about this Euro integration, if we speak about we are the most pro-European country, we are the biggest friend of the US, if we are the biggest transatlantic alliance in the Western Balkan. But then if you have the partners from the US or from Berlin or from Brussels on the ground, and they give you some advice and they say, well, this could be done in a way like this. And so exchange is being done continuously and negotiations are taking place. And you see in the end, nothing is taken on board.
They get frustrated.
It's quite hard. It's quite hard. Yeah.
But a show full of politicians and government officials in my view, would be pretty boring if that's all it was all year. Sorry to any of you who took part. But I did make time to speak to a lot of regular people as well. I spoke to foreigners like myself who've made Albania home. I've spoken to Albanians who are living abroad in the UK and other countries who are doing amazing things. And businesses, local people, activists, artists, experts, and regular members of the public in Albania as well.
Through these years, while I was playing football, then obviously I had a lot of Albanian friends that I was playing with. And then I called them one night for a meeting after the training. I said, listen, this is what my plan is. Would you be interested to support and join our clubs? And obviously they were all happy to do that. And we started as a Sunday League football team, which was easier to run. Basically, easy to find the pitches. The council authorities were quite helpful to hand over the football ground. And then we had 2 seasons playing as a Sunday League team. And then we decided to, obviously we were growing as a team on and off the pitch. So we decided to join Saturday League. So we joined the Saturday League for 2 seasons. And then we managed to merge with another team called Kickerwood. They were semi-professional level. So we joined them. And then Eaglesland became the first Albanian semi-professional team based in the United Kingdom. And we play at Wembley Football Ground. Obviously, Wembley FC have a history where England played, actually trained here in '66 when they won the World Cup. So it's a home of the English and Albanians.
I can understand from a certain perspective why they want to say to look like they're doing what they're doing to stamp out corruption, etc. But at the same time, at the rate they're going, there's going to be no deputies left. There's not going to be any MPs left apart from Eddie and his sidekicks. I mean, well, it's a bit Hollywood and ridiculous. I mean, they've dragged Ilir Met out of a car on a motorway with about 3,000 different soldiers and guns. And the guy's 5'5" or something, and he couldn't fight his way out of a paper bag. You know what I mean? It's a bit dramatic. And then we've got all these people getting dragged up for non-declaration of assets and money. I mean, and they're accepting them. I think was it Ilir Met's mother-in-law or something?
Yeah.
100,000 euros equivalent, or 10 million old lek from funeral donations. I mean, come on, it's a bit far-fetched.
Yes.
The thing is, it's just in people's mind, like they think like woman cannot do it, man can do it. This is the only thing. And that's why we are trying to push our women in the company to do everything. Like even though if somebody is working office, after office time, if they have time, they enter also the production part. And it started to be normal for them. And for example, their daughters come to company, they see it. So we just need to be example, and we need examples like our company. That's why it's one of our philosophy to empower women in male-dominated businesses, so they can see that it's totally normal thing. 2 days ago, when I was in the office, somebody was passing with his daughter, and he just stopped and said to his daughter, "Look, these girls are producing cars here." Yeah, so I like it. So
Yes.
The girls will raise with this kind of mentality in the future. To be honest, I see these things even in developed country. I was in Switzerland, for example, in a professional school, and the director was talking about the equality, that they have a lot of women, and later they showed their board, and the board was like 10 men and 1 woman. I said, even in Switzerland, it's not that equal.
As far as I know, and this is the truth, all ex-communist officers, the policemen, directors of the prison, police force of the in prison, which keep the people in prison,
Yes.
they get a special pension.
Oh, that's lovely for them, isn't it?
And this is not fair at all.
Of course not.
Plus, their pension was good enough compared with our pension. One persecuted person, he gets only 150 euros, maximum 200 euros a month.
one policeman guard which keep the people in prison.
Beat them, tortured them.
Yeah. We have seen that hell, I can say.
Yes, yes.
More than hell. He used to get 350 euros, near get 550.
So this persecution, this persecution. So during communism, people were persecuted or they were elite, the communist elite, and even in democracy.
Even now,
there's still that division. The persecuted get less than the former communist elite.
Look, the people who command this country, still the communists are on par. This is the biggest problem. They talk different, but they do different.
If there's anyone listening or watching who has survived any form of sexual violence, whether it's in a war zone or not, what would you want them to know?
We have to have a thick skin. Not everybody believes the stories. And in most cases, it's my word against his word. And that's difficult to swallow for a survivor. And that's why they keep silent. Because, or if they believe you, they're going to blame you. They're going to ask, what were you wearing? What were you doing? When I was abducted, I was at home. I was 16. I was not out in the streets. I was at home. So they're trying to avoid from being judged and being blamed for the rape. So for the survivors, not just in a war, but even at peace, they have to be strong. They have to have a thick skin and always fight for justice.
And there's help there if they want it.
Oh yes, the help is there. Yes, if they want it. Yes.
And what would you say to those people who judge people who survive this, who speak out, who say, "Oh, well, she was wearing a short dress," or "She was," all this rubbish they come out with? What would you say?
I'm just gonna say this: there is quite a bit of people. They do judge the survivors like they're known like me, that they have no idea their moms, their sisters, or their wives are victims as well, and they have no idea. But they easily judge me. So they have to make sure that within their first circle, second or third, they don't have victims, but in most cases they all do. And they just don't know and they judge me.
So I am not one who likes being confined to the studio, as lovely as it is. And 2024 was a year where I took every opportunity to go out and about and explore and to take my camera and film the adventures I had along the way. I travelled the country widely, sometimes on a bus, on a train, on foot, for fun. And I filmed as I went along. I wanted to give people a taste of hidden gems, traditions, and of course the interesting people that I met and interviewed along the way. I gathered chestnuts in the mountains of Tropoia. I filled my face full of cherries in Rabdish. I met the victims of war crimes in Jakova in Kosovo. I know it's not Albania, but bear with me. I checked out migrant centres in Shenzhen that are part of a big ongoing debate. I visited communist-era gulags in places so remote there was no telephone signal, let alone internet signal. I visited the place where Albania's national hero, Georgi Skanderberg, was born, and I retraced the footsteps of one of Albania's most brilliant writers ever, Musine Kokolari. We're currently a bit lost. We're looking for the group of scouts and the guide and everybody else, but we're lost. But honestly, there's definitely worse places to be lost than here. Look around. We're not lost anymore. Did we miss the chestnuts or did you leave some for us? A little, thank you. This area is stunning. You know, these huge craggy mountains veined with purple, green, silver, mineral rocks. And then you have these vast plains among it all. This is sort of hidden between all the peaks. You have these incredible chestnut trees everywhere. They're huge. They must be centuries old. They're taller than the telegraph poles. And look here, they're taller. And they're starting to turn. There's these golden, red, burgundy ferns everywhere. And the chestnuts just fall from... trees and people can pick them. You wouldn't know about this place. That's how it is in the folds of northern Albania. It's amazing. So this is a chestnut. It's really spiky. You need gloves for this kind of work, I think. And then you have to break them open. Ow! My delicate hands are not for this work. And then you find the chestnut inside and you throw away the husks afterwards. Hope I didn't hit a kid by accident.
Por. Ky është Chelsea. Hajdeni këtu. T'ja shpjegoj si bëhet çuna. E hapëm.
This really is such a wonderful village. I mean, I had no idea a place like this exists. It kind of reminds me a bit of Gjirokastro, which is in the south of Albania, because it has these stone streets, stone walls, these vines, these old buildings with brightly coloured doors tucked away down winding alleys. It really is wonderful and surrounded by these incredible mountains as well. The people here are so friendly and they're so proud of what they're doing here, and they're excited to welcome people to this village. And also it's hope for them as well in an area which struggles with immigration and with not having that many options when it comes to building the economy. They're hopeful that tourism will change their lives, will bring people back home, will encourage the youth to stay. But it really is wonderful. And the cherries here are like the size of my hand, you know, beautiful big cherries, fresh food, fresh air, wonderful hospitality. What more could you want? Like in the museum in Peshkapi, they have replicas of Skanderberg's swords, and his main sword in particular. Why replicas? Because his actual sword is in a museum in Austria. I personally don't think this is correct. My country, the UK, has a long, long history of taking artefacts that aren't theirs and keeping them. And I think this practice needs to stop. Let's bring back Skanderberg's sword to Albania, shall we? So it's been a long day today. I've conducted several interviews. I've stood on ground where people were round up and shot just because they were Albanian. You know, I've seen grown men cry and shed tears over their family members that were murdered, including a child the age of 2, a 2-year-old child. And I've seen them show me photos of their children and their family members that are no longer with us. I've seen books of evidence, of testimonies, of blow-by-blow accounts of what happened, you know, that would stand up in a law court. And I've heard people beg for justice. I've heard people talk about their fears that, you know, unless there is justice for these crimes, that there is a risk that this could happen again, you know, and they're frustrated, and I'm frustrated. Because, you know, I work in Brussels a lot and I hear, oh, you know, Kosovo needs to do more to get on with Serbia. They need to set up the Association of Serb Municipalities. But try coming here and telling people who've seen entire families wiped out. We're talking children all the way up to elderly people, round up, shot, locked in houses, burned. And there's been no justice. Come and tell those people that they must bend over and do these things as Serbia wants, that they must, you know, create associations of Serb municipalities, that they must appease Serbia. Come and tell them that. You know, I've sat today with tears rolling down my face, and I just wish that the people, you know, these spokespeople in Brussels and the new High Representative for Foreign Affairs, I wish they would come here and listen to the stories. Listen to what happened. Go to that museum house. And then maybe it might give you a bit of a better perspective. Now, 2024 was also the year that I realised a dream of mine that I had from the age of about 5 years old. I published a book. I published a book about Albania. Of course, this was featured in Inside Albania, which was like 2 dreams come true combined. And I also went beyond my job description. I picked up a violin. I trained intensively for a month. And then I played 2 songs, terribly, but I played the Albanian national anthem and Ode to Joy, which is the EU national anthem, on stage with the Western Balkan Youth Orchestra. And I learnt about the joy of bringing people together from across the Western Balkans and Europe through the medium of music. This was an amazing experience, so have a look for yourself. Maybe plug your ears. For me, it was a completely new experience. Obviously, I'm a journalist. I've written thousands of articles in my life. I've always wanted to write a book, but to actually have one, I feel a bit like I have imposter syndrome. Like, is it good? Are people going to like it? Am I qualified to write a book? You know, there's a lot of emotions. I'm still not completely sure that this is real and it's happened, but it's made me want to write more. I've started writing a second one, and I have been for some years writing an even longer one, which is about more of a life story, but this one's a bit sensitive and I need to wait some years before I can publish it. But the whole experience has been amazing. I want people to focus on what I'm saying about Albania. It's not because I'm saying it. I don't want people to think, oh, because she's from England, she's foreign or whatever, or she's a journalist, I have to listen to what she says. It's not about me, it's about what I'm saying. It's about the people I'm talking about, the traditions I've written about that are dying out and people aren't continuing, the places which are endangered, which are at risk of being destroyed or have been destroyed. It's about, this is the most important thing. That's it for 2024. Please do come back and join me in 2025 for more interviews, insights, reports, and of course, adventures from Albania and beyond. In the meantime, if you have a story, an idea, you want to tell me to go somewhere, to visit somewhere, to meet someone, to cover a topic that's important to you, you can reach out to me, Alice in Albania, on Instagram and on Twitter, and I promise I will try and respond to you. You can also catch up with all the shows from the past 2 years on our YouTube channel, Euronews Albania, and across all major podcasting platforms that include Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Until next year, Mira Pavshin.